Hi, this is Corey. I'm going to be presenting on Chapter 3, which focused on culturally relevant teaching. Here we go. So first I wanted to start with the theory. So we talked about this in Chapter 2, looking at Vygotsky specifically and looking at the social cultural theory of development. So what does that mean? That is primarily building on students' interactions with each other and their families and their teachers and how we learn through those social interactions. So using collaborative groups was something that really resonated with me in this chapter. They talked about how that can not only bring student voice, but how it really builds onto the cultural aspect of students sharing a classroom culture, but also their own cultures, right? So learning improved with mentorship, knowledgeable people teaching one another. So, and I really liked, and I'll talk about this in the next slide, I think, is how teachers becoming learners as well, right? So you are learning about your students, your family's culture, and really getting to know where they are and using that in your own classroom, in your own practice. So after understanding the social cultural theories that set us up, I wanted to talk briefly about the misconceptions that cultural relative teaching has kind of turned into in the past couple decades. So the example right off the beginning of multicultural fairs and whole teaching practices, this happens in almost every elementary school, and I like the way that they phrased it specifically in the book. I can't remember exactly how they phrased it, but basically it's not that it's a bad thing to do, but that's not what this is, right? By exposing students to different cultures at a fair is one night, right? But how are you bringing it into your whole teaching? How are you bringing it into your classroom? So just putting on events or having a one thing a year for this idea of, developing culture is not going to be enough. So how does it happen then? It happens from school reform. It happens in what kind of books you're using, what kind of curriculum are you using, and really looking at the STEM. It talked a lot about like lesson development, right? So the universal kind of lesson design with all students in mind and all backgrounds in mind. So again, CRT being fighting for social justice and equity, which we've talked about in Chapter 2 also. But again, that theme of looking at kids where they are, meeting them there, and building up, right? So to expand on that a little bit more, what does cultural relative teaching look like in practice? It's knowing your students' culture. It's listening to where they are. So just like every classroom shouldn't look the same, because your students don't look the same depending on where you are, right? So you come in and you're learning from there. What are their goals, expectations, their values that they're coming in with, and how are you going to use that to teach them? So how are you incorporating students' backgrounds into your classroom culture? And again, this holistic whole child approach, really. And the example that I thought of when I really started learning about this type of teaching was social studies. Since I was teaching third grade at the time, social studies, a lot of the curriculum is white culture that we share in our textbooks. It's a lot of that same narrative over and over again. So we're looking at California, and instead of kind of looking at the traditional, gold rush and things like that, which, is incorporated, but also we started to look at how did each child in my classroom, how did their families come to California? So what was their story? How far could we go back? Where could we learn how they decided to be in California, why they chose California? So that kind of, that part of the chapter made me think about that. Funds of knowledge also affirms student identity and family background. So we are not taking away what they're coming with it. We're not taking away what they're coming in with and replacing it. We're building on top of it and saying, yes, that is who you are, and I'm going to continue to meet you there and build from there, and use that to help students learn, right? And last but not least, just a little bit more about CRT, and practice. I really liked this graphic because, as we talked about in the last chapter and in this chapter, home and school, and then the child, right? So how are we bringing in those family backgrounds, those values that they have at home, to really inspire students to learn? And that's really where we need to be thinking about with inquiry-based learning is bringing in student voices, right? How are we connecting it? And there was that example, I forget the name of it, the algebra foundation. It's not a foundation, but the algebra project. I'll have to look it up again. But I looked at their website because I was curious about them and how it's connecting algebra to students' lives, right? That historical old question of like, why do we need this? And it's answering that question, right? Why do you need this? Getting students to understand the purpose behind your lesson is going to drive success, right? So bringing in student voices, bringing in experiences, applying their learning to experiences outside of the classroom. And I really liked this list on the graphic from the chapter of different ways to do that. So photos, personal experiences, thinking a lot about like writing, role models, who do they look up to in connection to something that you're talking about, community issues, perspectives, songs, connection to discipline. So thinking about all these ways that we can really help our students connect to the outside world and bring their culture in, and also put our learning out. So not only bringing in the culture of your classroom, but also saying take what you're learning out into the world. So I really enjoyed learning from this chapter, and that is my summary and what I learned from chapter 3.